Let's go straight to Prime Minister's questions right now in the chamber.
The Minister has referred herself to the ethics advisor. She has admitted she underpaid tax. So why is she still in office? But there is not just a crisis at the very top of his cabinet, Mr. Speaker. There is a crisis brewing for the whole country. When was the last time the cost of government borrowing was so high?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I join her in her comments about Mr. Warburton? I think the whole House would unite on an issue such as that. In relation to the Deputy Prime Minister, she has explained her personal circumstances in detail. She's gone over and above in setting out the details, including Mr. Speaker, yesterday afternoon, asking a court to lift a confidentiality order in relation to her own son. I know from speaking at length to the Deputy Prime Minister just how difficult that decision was for her and her family. But she did it to ensure that all information is in the public domain. She has now referred herself to the independent advisor. That is the right thing to do. But I can be clear, I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working-class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country. Mr. Speaker, on the question of borrowing costs, they have risen across the world, as the Leader of the Opposition well knows. We are driving them down by getting debt down. That is hardwired into our fiscal rules. Those fiscal rules are non-negotiable. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take lectures on the economy from the party opposite, who crashed the economy, mortgages went through the roof, and a record fall in living standards.
Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure we would have heard all that sympathy if it was the Conservative Deputy Prime Minister who was being attacked. I remember when the Prime Minister said that tax evasion is a criminal offence and should be treated as all other fraud. If he had a backbone, he would sack her. But let's get back to the issue of borrowing. He did not answer why it is so high. Conservatives left him the fastest growing economy in the G7. Under him, the cost of our borrowing is now higher than in Greece. Why does the Prime Minister think this is?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if it had been the party opposite, there wouldn't have been the accountability that there now is in place, because they spent years and years avoiding it. And she makes her claims about the economy under their watch are about as credible as her place at Stanford University, frankly. But, Mr. Speaker, she leaves out of account, because she wants to talk down the country. We've got the highest growth in the G7. Those figures, I look forward to her getting up and welcoming that. 5 interest rate cuts in a row. And of course, Mr. Speaker, £120 billion of investment in the first year of a Labour government. That is a record.
It's a terrible record, Mr. Speaker. I stand by every single thing that I have said. He cannot say why borrowing is higher under him. I will tell him why it is higher. It is because the Chancellor changed the fiscal rules so she could borrow record amounts. She maxed out the country's credit card, and that has pushed up borrowing costs. These are their bad choices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, former members of the Monetary Policy Committee are warning, and I quote, that we are heading for an economic crash. Why does he think that he is right and they are wrong?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she can't resist. She comes straight back to talk the country down at every opportunity. She doesn't welcome the highest growth in the G7. She could have got up and welcomed that, Mr. Speaker, but no. What about the 380,000 jobs we've created? She could welcome that, but no. What about the 3 trade deals we've got? Not only does she not welcome them, she opposes them. And of course she hasn't welcomed the Norway deal, the biggest deal for shipbuilding in a very, very long time. She should stop talking down the country and get behind the renewal this government is delivering.
Mr. Speaker, he is dragging down the country. He is dragging it down. How can he stand there and say that he is creating jobs? Unemployment has gone up every single month under this Labour government. And if he doesn't know why borrowing costs are going up, another reason is that the markets can see that he is too weak to control spending. Now, we are reading that he wants to have another go at welfare costing. What makes him think that they will vote for it this time?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we picked. I think I saw that the leader of the opposition said, I think at the weekend to the Sunday Times, that I think she said this: "I've inherited a gigantic mess and I'm cleaning it up." She said it's very difficult. It's going to take a while. I know exactly how she feels.
Mr. Speaker, we're not the ones referring ourselves to ethics advisors. The fact is, he is floundering. Mr. Speaker, he is floundering. Perhaps he should have a read of the covers of the...
Shh. Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps he should have a read of the covers...
Order. We don't want to start the session with somebody leaving, do we? If somebody wants to volunteer, please do so. If not, I will choose one.
They can do the fake chairs as much as they like. The whole country knows what a mess of the economy they are making. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that taxes are going up for everyone, except perhaps the Deputy Prime Minister. I warned before the summer that we would face weeks of speculation about which taxes would be going up. The former head of the IFS says this sort of uncertainty is actively damaging to the economy. And now we find that we have to wait until the 26th of November for a budget. Does he really think the country or the markets can wait that long?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she said they're not referring themselves to the ethics advisors. That's amongst the reasons they got booted out of office last year. And she complains that we're going through the due process for a budget and going through the necessary steps. We tried a budget under their watch without going through those steps. What happened? They blew up the economy. We'll take no lessons from them.
This is desperate stuff from the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. This week, he had another reset. This morning, the Prime Minister scrapped his 5 missions, and after scrapping his 3 foundations, scrapping his 6 first steps for change, and his 7 pillars for growth, the truth is this man has got no clue, 0 clue. But this is serious, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's incompetence is hurting real people. They're losing their jobs. The cost of everything is going up, from energy bills to the weekly shop. This is a crisis made in Downing Street. Isn't the truth that he is too weak to change course and too arrogant to admit he got things wrong?
I don't know what social media site she's been on this morning, Mr. Speaker, but I think the chair of the Tory party said that we were the firefighters, this government. Well, in a sense we are, because we're putting out the fires that they created. They were the arsonists, the biggest fall in living standards on record and blowing up the finances. We spent the first year putting out their fires, quite right too. But now, Mr. Speaker, we're delivering on the cost of living. Funded childcare, £7,500 for working families. Free breakfast clubs, opening new schools-based nurseries. That's what we're fighting for, the best start for every child in this country.
Paulette Hamilton.
Right,
Thank you,
well,
Mr.
what a
Speaker.
fiery exchange that was at PMQs between Kemi Badenoch, the opposition, and the Prime Minister. And what a surprise, of course, that one of the first things that Kemi Badenoch brought up was that extraordinary announcement from Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, seated, if you weren't watching, if you were listening, seated behind the Prime Minister alongside Rachel Reeves, 2 very much beleaguered senior figures of his cabinet, about Angela Rayner's admission that she should have paid more stamp duty on her recent flat purchase in Hove in near Brighton. £800,000 flat purchase, probably got out of some 40 grand in £40,000 in stamp duty that she avoided. She said that she's taken legal advice since people have raised an issue about whether or not that was legal or not, and she has considered resigning. She has referred herself to the independent advisor on ministerial standards. Well, Kemi Badenoch was very clear that why is Angela Rayner still in office? She said that the Prime Minister would have sacked her if he had a backbone, and saying that basically the sympathy that he's got for her was not the sympathy he would have for a Tory Deputy Prime Minister, pointing out that tax evasion rather than avoidance is a criminal offence. Well, very heated discussions there. Joining me still in the studio is Claire Pearsall. She's a former Conservative government advisor who's been joining me throughout the show. Afternoon once again to you. And also we've been joined by talk presenter and political commentator Peter Cardwell. Hello to you.
Hi, Julia.
Well, I mean, what a lively one. Now,
certainly.
I have to say, all credit to Kemi Badenoch. She came out, firing on all cylinders there. And with this latest breaking news, suddenly this news had emerged in the last half hour saying that Angela Rayner admits she should have paid more stamp duty on her flat purchase. Just first of all, before we go into PMQs, how damaging do you think that story is for A, Angela Rayner, and B, the government?
When you have a Deputy Prime Minister who has had to refer herself to the independent advisor and ministerial standards, that is pretty serious. That's the kind of thing that often leads to a resignation. Now, the ministerial advisor may well clear her of this. That is still something that may happen. But of course there are calls for her to resign. And the fact is that she's already said that she avoided £40,000 worth of tax. The thing is that she may not have broken the law, but the point is this is how this looks, how it smells, and also people in public are meant to be above reproach. And Keir Starmer said when he came into office that he wanted his government to be pure.
And also the standards include not just obeying the law, but also actually, being seen to.
Yes, of course, and being above reproach. And the fact is that Keir Starmer has made it very, very clear that from all his that's what he wanted from all his ministers, from everyone in his government, and that simply has not happened. And Angela Rayner, under a lot of pressure today, she has said certainly that she has referred herself, but for Keir Starmer this is damaging. He's got a Chancellor under fire, now he's got a Deputy Prime Minister under fire, and this is really complicated as well, and when you're explaining in politics, you're losing.
Exactly, that's what's very tricky. I mean, Claire Pearsall, watching the footage of the Prime Minister there coming out fighting, obviously, although I think he wasn't too convincing. And I think Kemi Badenoch, there were a few open goals there as well. But we got Kemi Badenoch making those allegations, while making the point where we were with Angela Rayner's admission, but him sitting there, and behind him he's got Rachel Reeves already under extraordinary pressure ahead of this budget in November, and the markets are looking terrible, and the pound going down in value, borrowing and all of that. And at the same time you've got Angela Rayner normally sitting there frankly being a bit gobby and sort of shouting the opposition. Suddenly there we are, she's sitting there very demure, she's got a polo neck on, very unlike Sharan, very quiet, doing the full, let's face it, doing the shtick of, poor me. What did you make of that?
Yeah, it's the very, very mindful, very demure Angela Rayner that we know and love. And I did enjoy the two questions, Kemi. She added in two questions each time towards Keir Starmer, and
why is
one
Angela
of them was
so
Angela
cost of
Rayner
borrowing,
and cost of borrowing. And I think that that's a really good thing, because he can't answer either of those. Keir Starmer coming out and saying that Angela Rayner had gone over and above with explaining.
I mean, we all guffawed over that. And it was interesting because Keir Starmer also said, and she's also gone to court to lift that confidentiality order from the court involving her children, involving her own son, and referred herself
rather than someone else's son.
Yeah, referred herself to the independent advisor. But again, who else would refer you if you did? He said he was very proud to sit alongside her, and he said this is a woman building 1.5 million new homes. Don't think she's actually doing the hod carrying herself, but also they're not going to build 1.5 billion homes. Mentioned her working class background.
Can I make a point on that, actually? So the 1.5 million homes, is she going to live in all of them? I don't know. Is she going to own them all?
Well, I mean, would she have to pay stamp duty at the same rate on all of them? That's the question.
The second point is, when you go back, when you regress to this whole she's a working class woman, it's like she was born into that. That is something she didn't control. It's the same thing as when they say with Diane Abbott, she was the first, black woman who got elected in 1983.
Well, move on.
Well, good for her, but what's she done since then?
But also it's the idea, and we've had this for the last few days, and I had a guest on the other day saying about, this is sexist, this is, people always go for it. Look, people, Angela Rayner's under a lot of scrutiny for a number of reasons. One, she's the Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Correct.
Two, she's, other than Keir Starmer, pretty much the only one anyone could recognise, because there's such a bunch of mediocre, also ran no marks. Three, very, very crucially, she is actually someone who has basically given her tuppence worth on everyone else, accusing other people of this and that and demanding their resignation and high standards. And now she's being exposed again and again and again as a hypocrite, Peter.
That's absolutely right. And if you give it out, you've got to be able to take it. And
but not because she's a woman or because she's working class. I really admire, I get on well with her. Funnily enough, I like gobby women. I don't know why. But I've had conversations with her at, events at party conferences and things, and I've said to her once, bet your supporters would be gutted to find out how well we get on. And her, you say her, social mobility, not in a patronising way at all. Well played.
Yeah, well,
from her background,
pulled herself up by her bootstraps to become Deputy Prime Minister. That's good.
But you can't keep playing that card when you're buying 800 grand flats and dodging tax.
The fact is, she's not working class anymore. She's middle class.
You're into John Prescott style battle about that.
She's Deputy Prime Minister, and she's got to be judged by the rules that she has judged other people by.
That's the thing, isn't it? It does. I mean, again, I know we want to get onto the economy, but that's the end of the day, Claire. They can't claim, and he can't say, oh, he's so proud to sit alongside her. Although I wonder if Keir Starmer was actually secretly rather pleased, because she just challenged him. He's got a beleaguered chancellor. So the two other most important people in his cabinet. And basically, that neither of them now, have got the firepower against him.
Exactly. He's just like, sit there, look sad, I'm in charge. And that's what he likes. But, I mean, it's not sexist. Angela Rayner, this is not her first mistake.
No.
We have seen a number of those. There's the suit, the clothes from Lord Ali, we've had all of that. Her holiday is over to Ibiza.
I don't have an issue with taxpayer. Yeah, okay. I mean,
there are some issues.
She does a lot of
stuff.
Not
the first time.
I've seen her at a hacienda reunion bash, when she was in a rather.
Is she in an outfit?
A joyful state. Oh. Let's go with that. Very happy. I mean, she likes a good time. I've got no issue with any of that. I don't like hypocrisy.
And that's
the one thing I really don't like hypocrisy, and also I don't like people. And it's right. I was angry with Boris Johnson, all that. I don't like people who make rules for other people and then don't obey those rules. Stamp duty is one of the most stupid taxes we've got in this country.
Agreed.
That completely ties up the housing market, particularly at the top end, where your people. I mean, I know you think, oh, let's feel sorry for those people. No, but funnily enough, people who work really hard for a home and want to buy a bigger home for their kids, have a bit more kids, don't want to spend 100 grand or something on stamp duty. And I'm sorry, but that 100 grand stamp duty doesn't actually buy you much in places like London anymore. Look, let's have a little watch and listen of. We actually finally got the clip in the system of Angela Rayner actually making, her mea culpa and admitting that she didn't pay enough tax on that flat purchase. Have a watch and a listen.
I took expert counsel advice on all of my affairs to ensure that everything was done proper, and that expert counsel said that the advice that I received was inaccurate because of the trust. I don't own the property, that is true. I only own one property that is mortgaged, like most people. But because of the nature of the trust that was set up by the court, that I would be liable to pay the additional stamp duty. As soon as I knew that that was the case, I have alerted and referred myself to the independent advisor on the ministerial code to ensure that they can look transparently at what's happened, and also contacted HMRC to say that there is additional tax owing on this, and that I'm prepared to pay that and fully comply with the HMRC as well.
Polanek out and again. It's very different from normal attire. But this is what they do. The mea culpa. Peter Cardwell, this thing, look, she took legal advice. If she's got emails from her lawyer saying, oh, the good thing is, because of this trust, you won't have to pay this extra tax, she will be exonerated. If you, I wouldn't know what the tax and legal situation was for something like this. You pay your accountant and you pay your lawyer and your property lawyer to advise you on this stuff. If she's got written evidence that they told her one thing, and now she's been told something different, I think she'll get away with it, won't she?
Well, also
quite rightly in that scenario.
And she should sack them if that is the case. There's also the fact that the Mail on Sunday exposed that she used a wealth management firm. People who have I'd love to have a wealth. I'd love to need a wealth manager. It'd be great.
How awful that you needed to employ a wealth management firm.
If I had any wealth to manage. But the point is that she's been taking a lot of advice. Clearly some of that hasn't been entirely correct, and the journalism around this from a lot of different papers has exposed the fact that this hasn't been done correctly.
The thing I find, if she was given the wrong advice, then that's not her fault. I think, look, come on. You know, that's what, if she basically was told, well, you can probably get away with this, and then she went ahead with it anyway, then frankly it banged to rights. But this is the thing here, Claire. Then we are talking about the hypocrisy, and then we're also talking about one rule for them, one rule for us, and telling other people they should pay. And these people, we often have this with politics, and particularly with left-wing politicians, talk about those people over there who need to pay their fair share of tax. You know, those rich people. Sweetheart, you're on a six-figure salary. You're buying an £800,000 flat as your bolt hole for the weekend. You are one of the rich people. You need to be paying the tax on that.
And that's the point, isn't it? These are the same people that have had a go at every single politician of the Tory variety who has had a second home, a third home, and in the case of sort of Jeremy Hunter, you know, several properties in a portfolio.
It's legal to buy a load of homes. I would buy a load of homes if I could afford it.
But if you are the socialist saying that everybody needs to pay their fair share and you have not paid yours, I don't think her position is all that tenable.
Absolutely, and I do think that she hasn't got a property empire. She does only own one flat. But again, you know, why have you bought a place down in? You know, why have you not got a place in your constituency as well? It's all just very bizarre. Let's go back to the economy though, because that is a small matter for everyone else, because they want us to pay more tax and everything. We found out this morning, didn't we, Peter Cardwell, that officially it's been confirmed that the next budget is November the 26th. A lot of commentators going, whoa, that's almost 3 months away. That is a long time for us to wait to find out what on earth we're going to face next when it comes to tax rises and all problems, especially as we saw the cost of our government borrowing reaching a 38-year high. It's higher than it is for Greece, a complete basket case.
And under Liz Truss.
And under we passed that a long time ago. And we've got massive debt. I mean, huge sums of money. You know, what was it? I mean, it must be what 110, 120 billion a year.
150.
150 now. The taxes we pay go to servicing the debt, not even paying it off.
The more we spend on the interest more than we spend on defence.
Defence. And education. And quite a few other things as well.
So the Office of Budgetary Responsibility as well, those amazing forecasters, those incredible economists said we'd borrow £80 billion this year. Guess what? It's nearly twice that. It's 150 billion. So we're in a dire economic situation. We're waiting until the 26th of November. That's the day before Americans celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't think it'll be too much to give thanks to Rachel Reeves for when she puts up her taxes.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. But there's no doubt there's massive pressure. Look, but in terms of Keir Starmer, though, look, he's done an awful lot of pressure. We've been laughing at him all week about this sort of, day one of phase 2 of his government. He's had to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic.
I know what comes next.
Again and again and again. All his stuff. He goes through stuff like most people go through. I mean, I don't know, packets of crisps. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And a little reshuffle of some, again, people no one's ever heard of in the cabinet. But there's no sign that he's got any control, that he's got a real grip on what is going on in this country and what people are genuinely concerned about. He's not got a grip on the economy, as Rachel Reeves. Not got a grip on illegal immigration, or legal immigration probably. They've not got a grip of the NHS. They're wittering on about banning high energy drinks and things rather than tackling the real issues. He's now got 2 of the most senior members of his cabinet really on skids right now. This is a government that a year and a bit into office is, the lowest approval ratings like pretty much ever, 15 points behind Reform in the polls. I mean, this is a disaster of a government.
Phase 2 isn't getting off to a great start, really, is it, after his reset?
Are we on phase 3 yet? Maybe we're in phase 3 already.
That comes next, I've heard. Apparently, phase 3 is coming next, and after that, apparently, it's phase 4. Yes, look, what did phase 1 actually achieve? What are the achievements here? And the thing is, he says this all the time. He says, look at our achievements. We've got breakfast clubs. No, you spent a load of money on breakfast clubs, giving food to children, some of whom have had breakfast already, I'm afraid, and some of whom do need breakfast.
And saving some parents who could have given their kids breakfast money.
Well, exactly. The point is the government is in crisis here. They've got Reform UK 15 points ahead of them in one recent poll. There's very little that is cutting through that they're doing. They've had all these announcements on immigration in the last 6 weeks. Very few of them have actually landed in any way. Anybody feels they're actually moving in any good direction. And the economy is the elephant in the room. And the fact they're waiting 3 months. Last year it was the 31st of October they did the budget.
And that was late then.
And that was late then. So it's going to be 13 months.
But they had just come into office then, hadn't they? That's another point.
Yeah.
But Claire, I mean, look, this is, you know, it's going to be a long time waiting, but we know that, I mean, not just international investors, but people who run businesses here right now are basically saying, well, what are you going to do to me this time?
Yeah.
They're not hiring people. We've got unemployment going up. We've got welfare rolls going up. We've got inflation going up. I mean, a lot of the costs which the government's going to have to deal with are also going up. Someone pointing out on the show yesterday that September's inflation figures are going to be setting where pensions are and where pay rises are and things come next year. I mean, I don't think there's a single stat that's going in the right direction.
There's not. This is all going very, very badly. And when you start looking at all the very pretty graphs, I'm not an economist. I find this very confusing. But even I can see that the graphs for government gilts and bonds and things like that are not going in the right direction.
You probably know more than Rachel Reeves.
That would be an achievement, wouldn't it? I think my GCSE maths teacher would be very proud of that. But none of this is good. This budget is not going to be warm and fluffy. It is going to be really brutal on absolutely everybody. But it just depends which group of people they're going to pick on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, a big thanks to both of you for joining me on this.